Pass, play, hit. You decide how you want to play the gals game. Hello, I am Imogen Southgate. I am a full-time student at Chichester College and I hope you enjoy my radio podcast. Everybody, welcome to
Hi, I'm Matt and I'm a software engineer.
Hi, I'm Luke. I'm a full-time psychology student.
I'm Natalie and I'm a student at Chichester University doing sports science.
So, as you are aware, we are going to be talking about badminton. I have been playing badminton for nearly 10 years now, and I really enjoy playing it. But how long have you guys been playing badminton for?
Oh god, well, I must be 10 plus years now? Yeah, no, I started in year 7. So yeah, God,
Gosh.
that was 10 years. I don't know about you guys. How long have you guys been playing?
I've been playing for about 3 years. When I first got to uni is when I started.
What about you?
Yeah, I haven't been playing for too long. I picked it up for GCSE and A level, so about 4 or 5 years now.
We all have different experiences with playing badminton, but could any of you tell me what badminton is? Go on, Matthew, you're the expert.
It's so hard to define. I mean, badminton's actually it's a form of racket sport.
Yeah.
And I guess the objective of badminton is to not let the shuttlecock hit the floor, whereas most sports you can let it bounce once. In this case, you can't let it touch the floor. It is also, in my opinion, the most fun of the racket sports.
You're absolutely right, Matt. With that is a racket sport, and you happen to have to use rackets to hit a shuttlecock across a net. It could be played a singles game or a doubles. Singles is where you're on your own and you have to do way more running than you do in doubles. Doubles is where you have a teammate and you're against another team. But what are the rules to this game of badminton? What are the rules? How do I play this game?
Do you want singles rules or double rules first? That's the question.
We can just normal badminton rules.
Okay. Well, so with the general kind of scoring, if you are on a even number of points, you will serve from the right and you will go diagonally. And if you're on an odd number, you will serve on the left-hand side and then in the opposite diagonal direction. The complexion comes between the tram lines, so the kind of the areas around the edges. So if you're playing singles, the side tram lines are out, but the back tram line is in. And if you're playing doubles, which is even more confusing, the side tram lines are in, and the back tram lines are in for most of the game. The only time it is considered out is when you're serving or when your opponents are serving.
Luke or Natalie? Or did he nail it to perfection?
I think he nailed it.
Well, thank you very much.
It would have been funny if you've been playing so long you just didn't know what the rules are.
I'd be concerned. I'd probably look towards the guys who've been playing since uni to give me the rules.
But out of singles and doubles, what do you guys prefer playing?
I definitely prefer playing singles, purely because I love doubles for the social aspect of it, but I prefer singles because it just gives you more of a chance to actually practice skills.
True. What about you, Natalie?
I personally prefer singles every now and again just to challenge myself, but I'm really not that good at singles, so I'll stick to doubles.
Oh, don't beat yourself up. Of course you're amazing at singles.
And she doesn't yeet her racket across the court.
Oh my god, you do that too?
We've all done it before. Come on, let's be honest.
Matt, what about you? Because I know you do county as singles, so
yeah,
this is tough.
It's tough because originally, when I first started, I was very much a singles player, just because it was easier to kind of learn as an individual. But then, kind of, as I joined more social groups, I kind of did a bit more doubles. I still probably prefer singles because I guess singles you're responsible for your gameplay, and so say if you do mess up, you can you just blame yourself. There's no blaming others or. But I do enjoy doubles for the social side. I think it's mainly why I go to a lot of the double sessions. It's just to, I guess, be social.
But for this year especially, we've had a fun little thing called coronavirus, and we got put into a pandemic, and it is very difficult to play badminton outside. And I can say that I have tried, and it's so hard because the smallest gust of wind, that shuttlecock is flying all over the place.
I did try it, and it was purely based on the suggestion that you put a nail in the shuttlecock to weigh it down. Yeah, it didn't work.
Yeah.
It was. I can't believe I even tried it.
You were telling me about they were going to bring an outside shuttlecock. Did they ever actually do that?
They said they were going to do it, but maybe they've only released it in certain countries. Because obviously I know England, we don't really have it as a national sport, so it's going to be probably less of a priority. But I have no idea. I hope they do, because when summer comes again,
On the topic of the pandemic, all sports have changed according to the government criteria, and then they introduced the rule of six rule, which was mostly for indoors, which was introduced on the 14th of September 2020. The rule of six rule just means that you are not allowed to play in a group with more than 6 people. For me, I feel like that really affected how we play as our No Strings Badminton Club, because we always mixed with different kinds of people. So it was strange when we first started this rule of six that we had to get to our own little group and not be able to play with anybody else. But how did you all feel about the changes to the rules and everything?
I found it almost made me hyperactively conscious. In the same way as when it first came about, and we sort of had to learn that we're not allowed to shake hands, we're not allowed to hug with people outside our household with lockdown. When we started getting back into badminton, you suddenly realise, I can't, you can't have those moments where you fist bump or you high five, and you can't have the same sort of communication that you had before. In the same way, you're playing on the court with someone, and before they introduced the new rules, you could play with someone outside your household on doubles. So you had to sort of be consciously aware of where they were, so you weren't accidentally bumping into each other.
I think as well, the kind of the rules and regulations have been very kind of hard to understand, especially with the new tier system they've put in place in December.
Oh gosh, I don't understand the tier system whatsoever.
The tier system generally is confusing, but then you get into badminton and it's even more confusing. So you're going to get confused.
It's confusing for, I think, all sports, really, especially for these tier systems, and not just for badminton, but I feel like for all sports, I think everyone's just a bit confused about what we can and can't do, really.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think they've had to even kind of just put out new advice just to clarify the initial advice.
Just to clarify what the advice was.
It's all fun and games.
But I read on the BBC Sport website that fines for individuals who breach the new regulations start at £200, which is insane. That you can get fined for breaching regulations. Who has that money lying around?
Well, I think we can agree. Natalie, are you happy to pay if we breach the rules? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to pay. That's not fair.
Matt and I are the ones that've been playing for our courts. Come on, you gotta play.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
I must admit, when we first went into lockdown, the fines were £100, and I remember a lot of conversations where we said it's just not enough, because when we first went into lockdown, the restrictions were all very new, and we were supposed to literally just be staying inside and only going out when it's absolutely necessary. I sound like Boris Johnson.
We were only allowed for an hour, guys.
But when there was only a £100 fine, so many people were going out because they just did not care, and the fines weren't actually enough to deter pretty much anyone.
I think it wasn't even that. It was
Yeah.
like £60 wasn't it? It was
wasn't a lot.
Small amount, and I just don't know.
And organisations such as Sports Club, if they fail to carry out a risk assessment and make the event COVID-19 secure, they could be fined up to £10,000. Like, comparing what it used to be like.
You see, when you say £10,000, I'll take the £200 fine if we breach, because I'd rather not pay £10,000.
But that's for an organisation. It's not for an individual.
Yeah, no, I won't complain about the £200 fine.
Did anybody get into any other sports during the first lockdown? Because we couldn't particularly play badminton. So what did everybody else? Did anyone get into anything?
I guess the obvious choice and what kind of the sport I took up was just running. It was probably one of the only sports that you could kind of do freely within the first set of lockdown rules, because obviously the first lockdown rules were a bit more restrictive. Whereas now obviously we've got a bit more freedom with the tier system. But running was my prime choice, and it's all because of your brother, Imogen, because he invited me out, and it all began from there.
Yeah,
so.
And he got it from us, my mum and I, because where we got it from, I have no idea. What about you, Luke? Did you get into any other sports?
I did try a bit of running. It didn't really take off with me. I ended up more.
You joined me with a 5K.
Yeah, didn't do too bad.
What about you, Natalie? Did you get
I've
into
kind of gotten really good at, I've been practicing yoga. Like the more...
You use yoga when you've got badminton.
Well, if you don't have the space for badminton, if you don't have a court or a racket or a shuttle...
You can play...
Or a friend.
Or a friend, you can't really play badminton on your own.
You don't need friends. You just need a good wall. A very smooth wall, and then you're sorted.
Well, the sports advice article that I read about the health benefits talks about ways of playing badminton is that it's a very strategical game. It requires you to plan literally everything: where you're going to shoot, how you're going to position yourself, what shot you're going to do. It requires a lot of brain power.
Yeah, you definitely have to think on your feet.
It's
especially for you, Matt, because you did a county games. You had to do it was helpful being strategic, so you can try to move around your opponent.
Yeah, I mean, with county, it's a whole different kind of mental game. It's not only the fact that you got to kind of think of it strategically, where you're going to place your shot. Because it has to happen in a split second. Like, you look at before you're about to hit your shot, you got to look at the opponent. You got to see where you've got to take the shot. But then you've also got that kind of mental challenge of, oh yes, well I recognise this guy from some various like England tournaments, and it's fun though. Don't get me wrong. It's fun to know you kind of like, especially if you're playing county matches. So obviously, I played for the Sussex County. So if there was we played against other counties, then it was nice to know the kind of standard that those other counties had, and you kind of learnt quite a lot from the players you actually had to go up against. So.
Yeah, because that's my goal for badminton. I want to sort of do what you do. I just want to just play a tournament.
I mean,
I feel
this whole COVID thing is put a spanner in the works. But I reckon if you applied for county, I reckon you'd get in. I'd honestly think you would.
Confidence.
I'd be there rooting for you, honestly. Because obviously county split into two, so you have county squads, which is mainly training, and you have county team, which is obviously you train and you go towards matches. You'd easily get into the squads, for sure.
Yeah.
And even the teams, I'd say.
Where do I sign up?
After COVID.
Okay. So thank you very much for tuning into this week's Board podcast. I upload podcasts every week on my Gals Game Hub or my website. Thank you all for joining me with this badminton talk. It has been very good.